He changed the name to drop down.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Thursday night's edition of Proper Football, where we keep it real. Right, okay. We've got Nigel on. We'll talk to Nigel in a minute. We've got Simon on. We are expecting the other Simon come on and join the panel tonight. He's having a few problems with his laptop, so he should be joining us, hopefully, when he's resolved his little issue. But what we got in store for you guys and girls tonight? Well, we've got a few things we're going to talk about tonight. Obviously, a massive night for Glasgow Rangers and the Hammers. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on that. They kick off at 8 o'clock in their respective semi-finals. Are we going to get an all-British Europa League final? Who knows? We'll be looking at that. What else have we got? Right, the government. Well, they're now saying they're going to have an independent adjudicator. Terminology is in the game. Is it needed? Do we need it? You know, is it that football governing bodies have let themselves down, that the government are now having to step in? We'll be talking more. We'll get Nigel, Simon, and hopefully the other Simon's opinion. And, of course, as always, your opinions as well. So join us on the chat room there. So we're going to be talking that. We're also going to be looking at some of the ups and downs that have now occurred this week. Including obviously poor old Oldham and some of the rumblings again at that club. And we'll just be talking about, is it right or is it wrong for fans to demonstrate? Again, another great talking subject there. So obviously, whatever other subjects you want to throw at us, folks, any issues you want us to talk about, drop them in. Nigel, if you've got any. Simon, if you've got any. Anything you want to bring up as a discussion point. Right. So, what shall we start with? Well, first of all, how are you, Nigel, and how's your week been?
I'm all right, mate. I've got a busy weekend coming up at Blackpool.
You look tired, mate.
I've been on the go today. I've had my hair cut and had to sort a few things out.
Yes, the hair's really happen, mate, I've got to admit.
Yeah, I've got a bit of colour put in it, so I don't look so old.
mate, you know what? I'd do the same, but I'm wearing that today because I should have shaved my head. Look at the fucking bum fluff. Hat on, embarrassing. Right. Yeah, mate, I'm as grey as you like, but no point dyeing mine. Just cut whatever's there off, and it ain't a lot.
I'll tell you what, though.
What are you doing?
Talking about hair, I've not had a haircut either. Right. Shocking.
No, and I can see the grey there. We're a right bunch of old farts, we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah,
Well,
had a busy week.
So go on.
A busy weekend I've had, but looking forward to a weekend. Got the football on the weekend, so.
Yeah, and Rovers going great guns.
Yeah.
We'll definitely talk more about Rovers. I know I neglected that a little bit with you last week. So let's start with Bristol Rovers. I let you down last week. So the situation, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, is your running is a lot easier than the running of the Northampton and who's the other club?
Port Vale.
Port Vale.
They've
So
both
just
got to play
explain,
Exeter.
explain the scenario, because you look like you're in pole position to get that third automatic slot. So just let everyone know
Well,
the situation you got.
It's pretty much if Exeter and Forest Green Rovers are both now playing off for the title. They're in the top two. They're already promoted. They're both going for the title. If those two win both their last two, yeah. So if those two win their last two games, and we win our last two games, then we're up. We've got the third spot because of Exeter are playing Northampton and Port Vale.
And let's be honest,
Or, sorry,
sort of mixed.
something along those lines. Exeter are playing Port Vale last game of the season. I think
Right.
Northampton are playing Forest Green. I'm not sure.
Right, so they both got to play the two sides fighting for the title.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
to play with Scunthorpe, the team that's relegated.
At home, last game of the season, yeah. And the funny thing is, last time we got promoted, we had to play an already relegated Dagenham and Redbridge on the last game of the season, and we went 1-0 down, and then came back to 1-1, and with the last kick of the game, we clinched promotion. That was the last time we got promoted from League Two as well. So
I remember,
is the writing on the
Simon,
wall? Who knows? You know.
I remember, Simon, about mid-season we were doom and gloom with Bristol Rovers.
Oh, it was
They
terrible.
turned that round.
In January, was it January or December? Around about December, January, we were 17th in the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
At one point this season, we were we were 91st at the entire football league. We were at one point this season. So it's an amazing.
Well, look, let's stick with that league. Just before, did you ever play against Bristol Rovers, Nigel, in your career? I don't think you really did you? What for?
No, actually,
days, weren't they?
Actually, I've got a good story about this because when I had one of the infamous fallouts with Graham Taylor, I put a transfer request in on the morning.
Are you going to tell us a bit more about it? Are you going to elaborate on that a little bit or not?
Well, yeah, I put a transfer request in before they played Luton, right on the day of the match. So we weren't happy, and I was out of the team, and I actually played in the reserves at the last game that was played at Eastville. It was Watford reserves versus Bristol Rovers reserves. So yeah,
right.
We made a bit of history there because we was the last game that was played on that pitch.
Oh, yeah. Simon, you didn't know you were working with the man.
The last time, yeah. Remember our last league game was against Chesterfield, but that was the last game that was played on that pitch, wasn't it? The reserve game, yeah.
And on top of that,
Luton played in it. Brilliant.
On top of that, Luton beat Watford, so I got a right slagging off the week after.
Oh dear. Oh, that's interesting. There you go. Wow. Just a good evening to Sonia, to Nick, to Millwall Gary. Millwall Gary. Oh, wow. Hello, mate. How are you? Anyone else? Let us know you're on. Any questions? Anything you'd like us to talk about? Let us know. Share this. Share it. Let other people know what we're on and what we're doing. Of course, you could always listen to TalkSport that 23 and a half hours a day talk about the Premier League. And and you give you half an hour to talk about any other leagues. So there you go. Just on that league then. So we've got two sides relegated. We've just mentioned Exeter and who was the other? Oh, Forest Green. Yeah. The veggie team. Yeah. Vegan team. She just mentioned that they are on the up. They're promoted, but they're still battling for the title. So we know that. But down at the other end now, we do know who is being demoted out of the leagues. And that is, of course, we'd already mentioned last week, Scunthorpe and now Oldham, who we've had lots of discussions about Oldham through the course of the season on this show. So here's a discussion point. And people, please join in with this. Damo, hello, good evening, mate. Join in with this, folks. So at the weekend, look, Oldham have been in bits. There's no two ways about it. We all know that the owner has really let that club down. There's no two ways. It's fact. It's not fiction. It's not fan bullshit. It is a fact that the owner of that club, who lives out in Abu Dhabi or wherever, has properly, taken that club from
Ex-football agent, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, it just sums it up. He's a football agent,
Yeah.
so that sums it up. And the lowest form of life. Right, so basically, the fans get on the pitch, they stop the game. The game, everyone thought was getting abandoned, but obviously they let the fans lead and then brought the players out and played behind closed doors to finish the game off, which is fair enough. The question is, and it's being touted around by many people, is I mean, some people have used the word, what the fans have done is disgusting. Others have used the word, well, how else did they do it? I'm just going to give you one example of what an Oldham fan has said publicly, and that is they have tried to communicate, they have tried to get the TV channels, the Football League to have dialogue with the fans because of the state of the club, and they have got nowhere. And basically, by doing what they did Saturday, suddenly everyone's talking about it. It's all on the news. It's talked about on TalkSport and everything else. So, right or wrong for the fans to have done what they've done? Let's start with Nigel.
Well, I don't know. If they feel they're not getting listened to, I suppose that's the only way that they think they can do it. Demonstrations are good, providing they're controlled. I'm not sure whether running onto the pitch and trying to stop the match is the way to do it, to be honest. I mean, because you only need one crazy fan to have a knife in his hand or something like that. Then you've got it. It's worse than what it is. So I'm not a fan of fans invading the pitch at the moment.
To be fair to Oldham, they have tried doing it correctly and having demonstrations outside the ground and carrying coffins to the ground. They've tried all sorts, haven't they? I just think that they feel they've got no other choice anymore. At the end of the day, the club is without the fans, there is no club, is there?
They unrolled the banner while they were on the pitch. Well, I think one of the telltale signs that this is not a load of youngsters boozed up, getting on, just looking for trouble, was the fact that there was an awful lot of, shall we say, old men, older than us, on the pitch that come on. They've been supporting the club for donkey's years, so on and so forth. It's like you say. The problem is, and I think, Nigel, you've just said it. Do you know what? This is where there have been certain encroachments onto the pitches of the games this year at every level, non-league, league, that have been wrong. And yet there are maybe just reasons for some encroachment. Some of the last-minute goals and the fans jump on with a bit of euphoria and whatever else. And for me, I think all those people that are getting on the pitch in the wrong manner and for the wrong reasons are actually destroying the option of, and everyone's getting tarred with the same brush, aren't they? And necessarily maybe that ain't the case.
There's no age limit for somebody carrying a knife with them. That could be an older person or a younger person. And the thing is, like when teams have scored in the last minute to win a match and some fans have run on, they're running on because they're happy. I mean, when they're demonstrating, they're not happy. Right, so you got to think of the state of people's minds are when they go onto the pitch. If they're really that disgruntled with what's going on at the club, there's always going to be one or two that might take it a bit further.
Yeah. One thing about Oldham though is the fans have been brilliant in getting behind the team this year. The support's been great. You know what I mean? So it isn't the players that people are disgruntled with.
Well, yeah, but the same could be said at Derby, but you haven't seen them do that. And Derby, they've taken loads of fans to away grounds and they've supported the team right the way through.
Yeah,
but they haven't jumped on the pitch to make a demonstration, and they've got every right to the way that club's been handled at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nigel, I respect everything you're saying. I think you've got really good points on this. Just to throw that back at you a little bit, then, what's lacking in now this is going to lead on nicely into our discussion about obviously this independent adjudicator, whatever the terminology.
That's freezing up again.
So this leads my what is needed at the club. Actually does lead straight into it. Desperation.
Sorry, Matt. I lost you. Yeah, I lost you halfway through. You was a bit like Norman Collier.
Yeah, am I back?
Look,
yeah.
I'm back, am I? Right. Sorry, folks. I think another week.
I think the problem you got with the small, even the big clubs and the small clubs, the problem you got these days is people that are taking over clubs and wanting to own them, they're wanting a fast return. They're not building for the future. These people seem to come in and want a return on their investment straight away, and that's why things have changed over the years. It's like I said, I always say it's become a business. It's not a football club anymore. It's become a business. Even down to the clubs like Oldham, and they're not being managed properly. They're not being looked after properly. And I think it's half the time it's because these owners want a quick way to success. They want it straight away, even at that level.
It's interesting.
Can I just say one more thing about League Two though? Exeter going up. They are fan owned. It's owned by the fans, Exeter City.
Like Portsmouth were. They've changed now. Just finishing off on that subject. So what I was saying to you, Nigel, was we're going to lead into the next discussion, which is what has been all announced this week, and where do we see that going, and for us in mind more with the lower league clubs and going down the pyramid, how that will affect them, if it does at all. But when the fans reach a point where they just have got nowhere to go and they've got a way of having, to get the authorities to listen to them, what can be done? And maybe this is what the government are announcing, but I mean, because they've got on the pitch, and I agree with what you're saying, I really do. The problem I see is that they're desperate. They're being put in a position where no one wants to listen, no one wants to look at the situation, and no one is acknowledging their plight. So they've been put in a position where they've taken measures that are maybe not really what you want to see at a football game. What option are they left with?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said they're desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. So again,
it comes back down to what you're saying.
It's a safety thing, like if they invade the pitch, there's not enough stewards there to stop them getting on, and then who knows what anyone's going to do once there's that amount of people on the pitch and the players are still on the pitch. Nobody knows what could happen in that situation. I don't think it's a good thing. If they want to demonstrate, they need to demonstrate outside the club and do it that way. But for me, like going on the pitch is not the right thing. Yeah. I was playing against Derby for Watford when the referee blew the whistle and the Derby fans thought the game was over. They run on. One of them smacked me around the teeth as he ran on. And
I was there that day, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had to go up for 5 minutes in. So,
mate, we had to get back to the train station.
Yes.
Fucking hell, that was bad that day. I remember that day well. 1982, the year we went up.
That's it.
3-2 the result, and Derby needed to win to stay up. We were already promoted.
Yeah.
Fortunately, just behind our friends at North Harpenden. But anyway, yeah. So moving this on then, because this is great. So this week, for those who don't know, the government have decided we're going to bring in independent regulator into football, because football, on face value, doesn't know how to look after itself. It's pretty much, if they're going to do that, they don't have to in the governing authorities, and about time they recognise that, they sack as shite, the football governing authorities. They really are. So the interesting thing is they're going to bring in this independent adjudicator. That ain't the word, is it? Regulator. The regulator, that's the one. And he will then have a level of control over how clubs are being, and the government have turned around in this and said another Mackled, another AFC, not AFC, but Russian and Diamonds, another Derby situation. This will never happen again because the independent adjudicator is going to control what is going on at these clubs. Now, they will not at this stage step in and force the Premier League to distribute the money more evenly down the pyramid. They've said that, but they have said if there isn't a fair hand and football being looked after, they would step in on that as well. So isn't it such a sad state of affairs in the game that we all love that this has had to happen? And I do pin the blame on the Premier League more than anyone else and the useless FA. What do you think? I mean...
Well, it is sad, but I mean, like, if it's going to prevent clubs going into administration and, these guys are going to see that they're in trouble early and they can possibly stop it getting worse, then I'm all for that. I think some of these clubs need that help.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea, to be honest.
Well, it would stop your pitch invasions as well for desperate fans. That's where I thought this might lead into it,
Yeah, that's, I mean, the thing is it shouldn't have got to this that the government had to step in. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? The FA and everything else and the Premier League, all these different football organisations, they're supposed to be looking after the clubs and keeping an eye out for the clubs, aren't they?
So the upshot of that is as well that the EFL are currently trying to negotiate the cut in money for that is paid by the TV rights. It's 10%. Now it is widely believed by certain people that should be 25%, and then filed down into the football pyramid accordingly, right? But it would appear at the moment that they're just the Premier League don't want to budge off the 10%, and they're going to look at the distribution being done on merit, which I'm not going to argue about. I mean, if someone's winning a league as opposed to being at the bottom, the person winning the league will get a little bit more money than the person at the bottom of the league. Fair enough. But it's still the same level of money that isn't enough coming out of the money bags Premier League to help this pyramid thrive. And I think the one thing, it's all well and good saying, yeah, but we got the best league in the world. But that league is backed up by probably the only football pyramid of its kind in the world. And if we're not careful, we'll be lost. Views?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't think the gap's going to get any closer. I think it's going to get wider, regardless of what happens. That's just the way that the Championship is virtually they're knocking on the door of the Premiership. Half of them teams. So you've got two leagues in the Premier League and the Championship, which I think are worlds apart from the other leagues below them. So that's the problem at the moment. You're not going to attract players to drop down into them divisions because they want to stay up in the top two, and then probably if you are going to try and get a player to drop down to your team, you're going to have to pay them extortionate wages, and then that's when you smaller teams get into trouble again.
Yeah,
because they're overspending.
What again throwing more into the mix again is there are this summer money that the Premier League feed into the pyramid that includes the parachute payments, which actually is a significant amount of money that is not going into the pyramid as a whole because it's going into sustaining the clubs that are dropping out of the Premier League. Now there's a lot of talk that will come to an end. That the parachute payments, I thought that they were stopping them, but no. But I believe the calls are that the money should be more fairly distributed, and the parachute payments give the rest of the Championship, shall we say, or the pyramid, whatever you want to call the rest of football. These teams get an unfair advantage with the amount of money that they're getting over 3 years or whatever it is. So there is cause for that to come to an end and the money be distributed more evenly over the pyramid, which you've got. It's just a difficult one because if they're not getting the parachute payments, then, and this is what is being predicted by certain people, that the Premier League will become elite. There won't be any.
More so than it already is.
It will become elite because the clubs coming up will not have the safety net, so they can invest in players. Of if it doesn't work, they've got the safety net of the parachute payments. It's a real conundrum, this, because then what you'll find is that no club will spend any money when they come up, meaning the Premier League, happy days. And this is all being heavily looked at the minute. And it is, I think, believed that the Premier League clubs will bite their hand off for that to stop the parachute payments, because it'll almost guarantee everyone in that Premier League as of next season will probably, other than the bottom three that will be relegated for that period, will never probably suffer relegation, because the clubs coming up will never, ever have the money because they just haven't got the safety net to invest into it. So there's that dilemma. But then you've got, in the other hand, the fact that all this money is going to one or two clubs, three clubs every time they go down, and the rest of football's struggling for money. If that money was being distributed more evenly, then the whole football pyramid would be in a better state. So it's where do we go? It's
the money don't guarantee that you're going to stay up in the Prem. I mean, look at the situation Everton are in, and they've spent a bit of money on players, but I totally agree with this. The parachute payment, I thought, was basically so if clubs went down, they could keep the players and they didn't have to sell the players.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't understand that. I mean, if you've gone down and you've got to get rid of players, that's tough shit.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reason. The reason you've gone down is because you've been crap the season before. So why shouldn't they get punished? You know, why should other teams have an equal chance to go back up or get promoted? And I don't think the money. I don't think the money. It's players' attitudes now. You know, if the money on players was spent meant that they were going to stay up in the Premiership, then Everton wouldn't be where they are now.
Yeah.
You know, I can understand Watford and Norwich because they haven't got a big pot to play with.
No.
But you know, at the same time, if you go down and you lose a few players, that's tough shit. That's the way football's always been. You know.
And yeah, absolutely. But you're right. I think obviously this conversation will swing back round to players and agents again, I'm afraid. But you know, the buck does end there, really, because it is the wage demands at every level of the football pyramid, including non-league. It's the wage demands that are being levied by scummy agents, and the players employ them, and the arrogance of players that is really hurting football. And it's like you know, the government have stepped in this week. Football's in a mess at every level. You've got wonderful teams playing unbelievable football at the very top. I get that. But the rest of football's in a mess. And that got confirmed this week by exactly what we're talking about. That is the government stepping in and bringing in an independent regulator. There isn't anywhere in the world that this has had to happen in football. The FA, the EFL, the National Leagues, they should all hang their heads with shame that this has had to happen. Because it's had to happen because they're not good enough to run football.
Yeah.
You know, and
thing is, if you get back to the agents, Gaz, I mean, like, come to the last 2 months of the season, if that team is looking like they could be in danger, you can guarantee that these agents have already done a deal for their players to join another team if they go down. So if they're saying to their players, well, don't worry, if you go down, I've got them lined up for you. What does it matter to the player whether they win or lose?
Yeah.
That's the attitude I think. They know that if they go down to the Championship, they're not going to stay there because they've all got a Premiership team lined up to buy them.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it was a case where you've got no agent and, you know, you got to fight for your life to stay up in that division, then you see a different attitude in the player.
Yeah. Do you think that we will ever see the look, there's always been the bigger clubs dominating football to a degree, but there's always been the chance that a minnow, look at what Watford did. You know, look at what she did. Went from one league straight up to the top league, and you know, look at Wimbledon and look at you know, clubs like that that you know can create a shock. The Leicester situation, I'm going to be straight here. It was a wonderful feeling that someone could break the mould, but I think if we actually look at it seriously, you know what? It wasn't. Such an amazing. It was amazing, but not to the level we all thought it was. Because one, they've got probably the best owners in the world, let alone the country. To be fair to them, but they've got a lot of money at Leicester. You know, they did at the time, and you know, so there's a lot of money back in Leicester, and also that season, for me, watching a lot of that football. Man City, Liverpool, Man United, they were all in transition. They weren't anywhere near playing that season to where they should have been. I mean, at the end of the day, the title race was between Tottenham and Leicester. You know, it just seemed to me that everyone was in a bit of transition, and it just meant, you know, so, I mean, that was the nearest we've come to breaking the mould. Do you think we'll ever see the mould broken again? I personally, I don't.
I don't, but you're always going to be like, there's always going to be a time when a team has a purple patch where they're winning and you know, and Leicester had that, and we had that with Watford when we finished second. So I think at every club there's that purple patch waiting to happen, but it's, you know, if you're looking at consistent purple patches, you're looking at the big boys, aren't you?
Yeah.
But there's nothing to stop one of the smaller clubs having a really good run. And I think Leicester, when they won the league, everything just fell into place. I think they were playing well. You know, their confidence was up. They had belief in them, and they went through with it. It was the same with us at Watford. You know, we were all young lads. We weren't scared of Man United and Liverpool's. We were actually looking forward to playing on them the grounds. You know, and so every boy's dream to play at them grounds. So we went there with no fear. But again, I think that we weren't earning the sort of money they're earning now. We wanted to get that win bonus.
It's a different world, isn't it? Yeah. Just say there, good evening, Mark Jones. Good evening, Stephen Parkin. Welcome on board. Anyone out there got anything else they'd like us to discuss? Give us a little note and we'll bring it up and talk about it.
West Ham are losing.
I tell you what,
1-0 already.
Let's just talk about the greatest acting performance this week ever. Richarlison. Oh my God!
Oh, I didn't see it.
Seriously, mate, it was embarrassing. Oh, he should have been sent off.
I've heard a bit about this. So just give us. I've heard something about now, but I've heard people defending him as well.
The commentator said he spent more time on the ground. He spent on his feet, like, you know, he was just going down and rolling over multiple times, and you know, he's banging the ground, but he's having a look out the corner of his eye to see whether the ref is doing anything, and it's an embarrassment, mate. I didn't like the guy at Watford. I still don't like him at Everton.
No, arrogant, mate.
Yeah,
arrogant, very arrogant chap, and I had heard a bit about it. Some people were defensive, but it's ex-players that were defending. I can't remember who it was now. I was listening to Talk Premiership. I mean Talk Sport. I can't help it. I'll do. I'll say something about them in a minute, actually. But yeah, some people were defending him. So no, he was definitely hurt. He was definitely hurt because he was getting ribbed badly about this whole rolling around and whatever else. But you watched it, mate. You're an ex-player. You know.
It was you know, there's been some good games this week. I mean, the lad that got denied the penalties for Everton, at least one of them should have been given. I don't know how the referee never gave the penalties. But like I said, there's been some great football. What the Man City Real Madrid game? God, City
mad.
They should have scored 8 goals, City. Yeah, but I think the Richarlison thing needs to be that we don't need that back in the game. You know,
seeing a resurgence of it again, aren't we? I forgot what I was going to say then. Oh man, I had a great point. I was going to ask an opinion on something, but what was it? Oh, what games were there?
Damo says they've got 4,000 fans going to Blackpool this weekend, Derby. Over 4,000.
Relegation party on the seafront. And
Yeah.
who will be there? Leading the way. Nigel.
They're expecting 12,000 young farmers.
Has this been deliberately planned? Really planned that you'd be DJing in Blackpool?
No, it wasn't.
Derby then, no.
No, because I'm doing the Aces Bar with the Young Farmers Association.
Oh right.
And they've got about 12,000 people coming up, estimated, into Blackpool. And then you've got a Northern Soul convention going on there as well. So it's going to be a busy one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, these farmers like a punch up though. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's a couple of loads of gas heads staying over in Blackpool as well.
They spend loads of money.
Cut the loads of gas heads staying over in Blackpool as well.
Oh, are you? After Rochdale?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I wanted to bring up, and I forgot what it is now. But look, coming back to this this situation, then, so they've said that it's up to the FA and to sort out a fairer distribution of money in the pyramid, or the government will step in on that. So we shall sit and wait and see. But what a sorry state of affairs.
Yeah, football's a way of life for a lot of people. You know, it's their weekend. They look forward to it, and you know,
I agree with it.
The fans are the ones suffering at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, I've said this a number of times now. I think one of the problems with with arrogant players, with the arrogance of these people running football, and a lot of the modern fan base, many discussions with people that are into the modern day football, which okay, everyone's got to accept change, but they just look at it as an entertainment, you know. And I've mentioned before about some of the discussions I've had, and it's like, what these people don't realise is, and you've hit the nail on the head, Nigel, and you've been around the football scene all your life, okay, from the pitch side, but you've seen the passion of fans and everything else. This is not just entertainment. This is not just another sport. For a lot of fans, this is, and I've said it, and I might get boring now, but this is their church, their religion, it's their family, it's everything, it's their world. Some people live and die just for their football, and nothing else matters in their lives.
There is no football club without the fans anyway, is there? You take the fans away, there is no
what sort of fans are we going to see? It's a fan like us, old school, traditional fans, which are not necessarily wanted at the modern day football clubs. Are we going to see it, you know, maybe not in our lifetimes, but in 30, 40 years, whatever, is this going to become like American football where, you know, they turn up, they eat their popcorn, throw their hot dogs around, and it's entertainment? You know, are we seeing the end of what we?
I think what the fans want to do, Gaz, they look forward to the matches every Saturday. All right, they get the pints before the match. They have the burgers. Whatever. They want to turn up at the match and hope the team win. They don't want to turn up to a match and still be thinking, "Oh, is this club going to be here at the end of the season?" Yeah. And that's what a lot of them have had to do. They're turning up to support the club, but they can't enjoy it properly because they're thinking, "Are we going to have a football club next year?"
Yeah.
So they should just be going there hoping that the team win, you know, and getting behind the team and enjoying the day out, you know. And it's been hard for a few clubs for the fans to do that.
I mean, your old school fans are still welcome at Rovers. Can I just read out a bit of Joey Barton's after-match interview after the Forest Green game? He said, because the Forest Green Rovers invaded the pitch, and he said, there's a crowd that comes onto the pitch at the end of the game, and if you're a Bristol Rovers fan, that's an invasion of your territory. Unfortunately, at the Mem, there's only one way in and one way out. You have to go past the Thatcher's end, and they've all had a few ciders.
Joey, but Stephen Parkin there just telling me Nigel is a football legend. I know he is, mate. Mate, yeah, I'm Watford supporter, mate. So, and yeah, I was there pretty much every game back in the golden era. Nigel, a legend. There you go, mate. Brilliant. Right, I'll tell you what. Let's change the subject. Let's talk about something different. We will come back to football, but Tyson Fury. Did you watch it? I mean, I did.
Yeah.
So did you watch it? No, you were DJing, weren't you?
Yeah, that's a long story. Yeah, I saw the knockout though.
Yeah, I mean, just the whole thing, the whole St George's Day thing that he did, wearing, had all the. Did you see all the knights going up the side? It was
all
just
the red and whites.
It was a wonderful event. I don't know about the boxing. There was the undercard, which was always questioned. However, there was a couple in there. I can't think of it. Low is it against the Scouse lad? Little Scouse lad. Give him a bit of a pasting in the end. But that was a good bout. That was. Not so sure about a couple of them though. One of them was absolutely dreadful. But and the fight itself. You're a boxing fan, Simon. I mean, I looked at that. For someone who don't maybe understand boxing, that fight looks a bit boring, I suppose. But it was actually
the main fight.
Yeah, it was actually a lot of people saying it was a masterclass from Tyson.
It was a good fight. Tyson showed that he can. I mean, yet again, he does whatever he can to win, and he did make it look fairly easy. I mean, the one thing that I did find questionable about it was he caught Dylan White with a hell of an uppercut, but he did shove him afterwards.
Yeah,
and no
he
one's
did.
mentioned that shove. Dylan White's claiming now.
No, that has been.
It wasn't mentioned by the commentary team at the time, though, was it?
No, but I know Dylan White's kicked off about it now, isn't he?
Well, yeah, because he's saying he hit his head on the canvas.
I mean, the little push I know was there, but that guy was, my opinion was
there was only one winner in it.
He was gone. That took his head off nearly, and he was wobbling all over the gaff.
That's what he's saying. He's saying that he says that I got buzzed good and proper with that uppercut. He said hell of a punch, and he said, but the shove, with him being off balance, he's hit the canvas. And he's hit his head off the canvas.
Right, that's been proved wrong now.
Oh, has it?
Yeah,
right.
Because there's somebody has managed to get the footage slow motion, slowed it right down, and he's gone down onto the shoulder, and his head just touched the canvas.
So it was an excuse.
I agree with you though. The push was there. I see the push straight away.
He's just pushing for a rematch so he earns more money, isn't he?
Well,
at the end of the day.
Tyson's retired now, though, isn't he? I mean, and there's no way that he'd rematch Dylan White anyway. Why would he? He's got bigger fights out there, more money.
We'll go back to footy in a minute, but here's the burning question: do you believe Tyson, or do you think that if Joshua beats Klitschko, or vice versa, he would have the opportunity to unify all the belts? Do you not think that he seems genuine about his retirement?
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think you might see him in a octagon doing UFC or something like that.
Yeah,
Fury, but I think he's done with boxing. Seems genuine, doesn't he?
He's a genuine fella. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he seems very genuine.
Around in a 57 plate VW Sat. He's proud of the fact that he drives around. He's got all that money, and he's driving around in a clapped out motor.
Thing is, his missus said though she wouldn't be surprised because he gets bored easily.
Yeah.
So she said,
he's had a lot of mental health problems, hasn't he? When he's not training, his mental health suffers. So it's how he deals with that. West Ham's just hit the post.
You what?
West Ham's just hit the post.
Anyway, listen. A few weeks ago, we was making our predictions about who was going to go up and who weren't.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping my eye on the championship, and you know, that top two and the four behind them, they've changed completely. But well, not completely, but I mean, Forest are where we said they could get. You know, the results go the right way for them. They could be up automatically. But you know, Huddersfield Town, Sheffield United, you know, I think Blackburn were in the top 6 when we were talking about it.
Do you know what? The game of the season's next Tuesday, Bournemouth versus Forest.
Oh, is it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, it's in Forest's hands, and it's in both their hands. Obviously, you know, they both got to win their others, obviously. But next Tuesday, because it's a rearranged game, because it was postponed because of COVID and all that. Oh, no, the Storms. The game originally was postponed because of the Storms. Remember that? Remember the Storms that called off? Yeah. And obviously that's really played into Forest's hands, hasn't it? I mean, that really has played into Forest's hands, that being called off and put out. Forest are flying. There's no two ways about it. What an intriguing game that's going to be. You have to watch. You're going to have to watch that next week. I'm away. I'm on holiday next week, but
it's exactly what I said though. That when we was talking about the four in the playoffs, and I was saying, well, you know, amount of games in hand Forest have got, and they've just gone and done it, haven't they?
Yeah, and very, very possible that they're going to go up in second place.
Yeah,
really interesting. The fact that they got to play each other next week, brilliant, brilliant climax. Always a good league. Always good. Being there, got to be. I mean, I don't like talking about them, but there we are. But I will talk about them because, in fairness, they've had an amazing season and they've done it on a shoestring budget, and they could very easily replace Watford in the Premier League, which would be a dagger in the heart. That really would be quite atrocious.
What's Kenilworth Road old now? The capacity
9,000 something. It's a proper shithole, isn't it? And I don't mean that.
They went in the Premier League. Would they be allowed in the Premier League with a ground like that?
Well, it's interesting because we're rapidly running out of time. But one of the other things that I was going to mention is there's quite a number of clubs that are not being allowed their promotion. Bearing in mind, next week I think, Simon, you're going to cover off the ups and downs through to the Southern League and the Isthmian League next week to show when we got a clear picture. But some of them leagues are finished now, and some clubs have been knocked back and denied promotion because their grounds are not meeting the standard for the next level up.
Yeah.
No one can and this isn't any Luton fans who watch this, please don't think this is me being a twat because I'm a Watford supporter. It's really not. And I admire what your manager's done there, and it's an absolute amazing season and an amazing few years you've had, really. But that ground, Jesus Christ, great nostalgia going to a ground like that. You know what I mean? Because it's still the same as it was in the 80s. But my God, in a Premier League ground, and if you've got these sort of, I can't see how that would cope in Premier League.
I think it's an advantage to them, guys. I think that ground's not a nice ground to play in, to be honest. And I think it works in their favour more than other grounds do. If you know what I mean. It's a poxy, dingy, enclosed ground with houses around it, and I think that's helped him a lot. Really? Yeah, I think that's helped him a lot.
I think you're right. I mean, Premier League stars going to that ground are going to be right out of their comfort zone. There's no. I mean, I've played there a couple of times when they had the AstroTurf, and for companies that I work for, I played about 3 games on there in total for different companies when back in the day when I couldn't play football. That's why I played a bit of rugby instead. But anyway, I did have my little moment of glory in the Kenilworth Road end getting a goal. And mate, I know they'd have to really. You're right. There would be a distinct advantage for them if they go up, because these big superstars are used to luxurious surroundings. That stadium in the Premier League is just. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I keep saying about these clubs, if someone breaks the button, all right, it might be Luton that do it, and good luck to them.
Most of the Premier League football teams have got a better training ground than Luton's football grounds. You know, City's set up and all that, like, you know. But fair play to them. You know, they're there because they play well this season. They're not there by luck, and the same applies to all the teams up there. They're there because they play well. You know, so you can't take that away from any of the teams. And if you're at the bottom of the league, you're there for a reason too, because you ain't been that good.
And low budget, you know, they've not spent loads of money. You know, fair play. I won't be saying that too often.
No.
Well done, Luke. Just don't go up, please. It's just because you'll be replacing us, and I don't know if I can handle that. Right, okay. We are getting close. We've talked about that. We've talked about Forest Bournemouth. What an amazing climax there. Just quickly touching on Premier League. Obviously, there are no ups or downs in the Premier League at the moment. And Ian, the only good thing about Luton is the airport. It's handy for him to get up and down in Glasgow. Right. North Harpenden Airport. Right.
West Ham have equalised 1-1.
Have they?
Yeah.
So 1-1. So obviously that's intriguing, really. Again, we talk about Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, but Burnley-Everton, that's another intriguing battle. You know, look, as much as I hate to say it, but Watford and Norwich are down. You know, there's no coming back for them. Mathematically, okay, there's not anyone officially down, but you know, let's all be realistic.
Watford playing Liverpool this week. Is it Liverpool that they got this week? Watford?
No, Burnley.
Oh, Burnley, right? Oh,
at Watford.
Oh.
So, you know, but look, we've got to be realistic. You know, Watford are not going to win all their games. They've hardly won any all season. And there's a point. I mean, we've not won, I think, our last 11 home games or 10 or whatever it is. So there's a good possibility Burnley are going to come down and beat us. You know what I mean? But who knows? But we're certainly not going to win all our games. We ain't going up. And we got Chelsea last game of the season as well, although it's probably a good time to play Chelsea at the minute. It is what it is, mate. We need to rebuild that club anyway. But anyway, so there are no official ups and downs yet. But what an intriguing battle going on there, as well as at the top end with Liverpool, Man City, and the battle for fourth spot. Arsenal or Tottenham? What are you betting?
I still think Tottenham, if they bring their A game, they're so inconsistent at the moment, but I think on their day they're better than Arsenal.
Burnley, Everton. Which
Burnley,
one's
Everton.
going down?
Who's at home? Burnley.
I've got a feeling Everton are going to go down. I've got a feeling
Everton are going to go down. Yeah, they've got a game in hand, haven't they? But you've got to win your game in hand, haven't you? And they can't win at the moment. So
do you know what he needs to do, Frank Lampard? When I played for Watford and we used to play Tottenham and they had Ozzy Ardiles and Glenn Hoddle and all them lot, we always used to beat them. All right, they didn't like sides like Watford, and the only time that Tottenham used to give us a game is when them players weren't available and they had to stick a few scrappers in. And I'll tell you what, I think Lampard's got to look at his Everton side now, and he's got put some players in there that are ready to roll the sleeves up and die for the club. Not whether he's a better player than him, but they need to get people in there that want to play. And maybe he's just got to change his side around a little bit, make him a little bit harder. There's too many prima donnas in that side at the moment. Burnley are just Burnley have had it drilled into them over the last 10 years. That's how they win games. You know, they're a physical side. They play good football, but you know they haven't got the resources that all the big clubs have got. But they play to a style that suits them, and they all knuckle down for each other.
Yeah,
and you know what? A bit of humble pie, I think. The move with Dyche at the moment is proving to be the right one.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. Maybe they've still done it under Dyche. But
they won the last few games, haven't they?
Yeah.
But look at the amount of teams that win games after they've sacked a manager.
Yeah.
And they win games with the same 11 players that got the manager sacked.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure how that works. You know, I don't believe that a manager coming in with the same 11 players can make that much of a dramatic improvement. I just think it's down to players sometimes now. Just their attitudes are wrong. There's no hunger in some of them. Some of them just want to play the match. They know they're getting the money anyway. You know, you need a few Vinnie Joneses in there that are going to.
Yeah.
You know,
there are not so many of them these days, though, Nigel. Like you were talking about Stuart Pearce and how it made you be more on your game because you knew if you didn't, he'd have you. You know, I don't think you'd see them. Mind you, though, is it more down to, Nigel, not so maybe much that you haven't got them players. Just sorry for cutting. That's a really interesting comment there. Potentially no Z cars in the Premier League next season for the first time ever. There's always been a team running out to Z cars, be it Watford or Everton. And it could be the first time ever no Z cars. There you go. Anyway. But could it be down to the fact that football's changed that much that you're not allowed to be the hard man anymore and it's been taken out of the game? So therefore, your players all coming through, all your young uns now, they're not designed to be the hard Vinnie Jones, Stuart Pearce characters because the game has become quite soft in its rulings and everything else. Could it be that?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like if you make a foul in the first minute and it's a bad foul, you're off. Whereas back in our day, you'd have got another 10 chances.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just on about players that actually, when they do something, it lifts the crowd. You know, and sometimes you need them players in there just to get the crowd going again because you're not having a good game.
Yeah.
And I just think, you know, sometimes you can have all the pretty players in your side that are good, skillful players, but sometimes you just need somebody who's going to get the ball. I mean, we had Les Taylor and Kenny Jackett. When they got the ball, the only two options they ever had was either feeding Neil Barnsley or feeding the centre forwards. No, they weren't taking players on. They weren't making all these fancy runs in the box. They got the ball and they played it out wide or they played it forward. And we got the ball out wide. And our two options were you either get a shot in or you get the ball into the box. And so sometimes you need players that are just going to sit in there and keep the team together. And I think maybe the balance at Everton at the moment isn't right.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
I mean, you certainly don't need players like Richarlison rolling around like he was doing, because all the talk becomes about what he was doing on the pitch, like, you know. So it's all negative stuff in the end, isn't it?
Yeah. No, definitely. I think we've covered. Right, the only other one we've not cut them all. Barnsley have now joined Derby in being relegated from the Championship, and Crewe Alexandra have been relegated from League One into League Two. I think we've covered off all the others. Guys, we've pretty much got to the end. I'm away next week, so down to Dan and you guys, and I think Dave Cass is going to join us next week. We will get Simon back on because he was a great person to have on, and he brought a bit of fun into it as well. I don't know what's happened. I'll try and talk to him shortly, but he's had problems at his end, not ours. Been an interesting thing. So, last word from you, Simon.
Looking for weekend. Pretty nervous. Big got.
You need to get prepared for these things. Shout out
you
to
do,
Kilmarnock.
don't you?
Hang on, shout out to Kilmarnock for getting promoted to the SPL and winning the Scottish Championship with the last kick. I'm trying to read it, and it's flickering up. Where are we? Winning the Scottish Championship with the last kick of the game last Friday. Well done, Kilmarnock. And Ian, you get us to do a visit to them, shall we? Next year we'll go to Kilmarnock and go to the Scottish Premier League side. That would be good. Ben Cliff, for me, the reason Stoke got relegated from Premier League, Mark Hughes let all the workhorses such as Glenn Whelan, John Walters, Robert Huff, and other water carriers, and we had no steel behind us. I think I've read that wrong or right. I don't know. Just finishing off so that we don't leave anyone out. Andrew. Again, that probably refers back a little bit to what you're saying, Nigel.
Listen, Stoke, for me, Stoke were a team full of bullies. They used to bully teams that came up there, and so I totally agree with Ben. You know, that it wasn't an experience you was looking forward to when you went to Stoke. So I sort of, but again, like, would they get away with the things that they got away with in them days with the rulings you got now?
Yeah. So Weymouth were officially relegated from the National League on Tuesday night, losing 6-1 to Wrexham after being 1-0 up at half time. Yeah, Wrexham are on a high. Weymouth, that's a shame. I like Weymouth. I've got a soft spot for that club. And Andrew, I'm sure will sort out with you, and maybe you can have a word with the club and get us in to do an away day down there next year. And that'd be a nice little down there for a weekend trip, I think. Why not?
Yeah,
why
definitely.
Not? Last word from you then, Nigel.
Yeah, just have a good weekend, guys. I'm looking forward to the weekend.
You will.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you all next Thursday.
Yeah, and there you go. It's up there, the link. Catch Nigel, 9 o'clock every night, other than this weekend and other than the normally on a Saturday, unless you go to, what is it called, the Neppy, the Neptune, is it? In Derby, where you do your gigs?
Yeah. But I'm not there this weekend.
Mixed
I'm not there this weekend.
No, Blackpool this weekend. In Blackpool, go to Yates's and say hello to Nigel. And there you go. Get him 9 o'clock every night. Fantastic tunes coming out there. Till the early week. Well done, Nigel. Right, that's it then. We'll love and leave you. You won't see me next week. You'll see everyone else. I'm sure everyone will be glad of the break of my dulcet tones. Until for you guys next week and for me the week after, I bid you adieu. Good night from me.
See you later, guys. Cheers.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Good night.